The Sheridan County Tragedy, a case study in neonaticide. In the Sheridan County District Court, a chapter closed on a tragedy that has shaken the community to its core. Chloe Coplen-Anderson, now 18, has been sentenced to a minimum of 35 years in prison. The maximum sentence could extend to 60 years. This sentence stems from the death of her newborn son in 2023. Coplen-Anderson entered a plea of no contest to the charge of second-degree murder. The details of this case are disturbing, raising complex questions about culpability, trauma, and the failures of societal safeguards. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. The sequence of events leading to this tragedy began with a concealed pregnancy. Coplen-Anderson, then only 16 years old, hid her condition from family and friends. She gave birth in secret, alone in her bedroom. Shortly after the birth, she slit her newborn son's throat. The date of this horrific act was November 6, 2023. The implications of a teenager committing such an act are profound and demand careful examination. The discovery of the crime unfolded with a call to the police. Authorities were summoned to the Coplen-Anderson residence. The report indicated a teenage girl had given birth to a baby who was not breathing. Coplen-Anderson's father initially believed the child was stillborn. However, the situation quickly escalated. Coplen-Anderson's mother identified her daughter as the perpetrator. The mother pointed out the presence of stab wounds on the infant's body. She also reported seeing Coplen-Anderson remove a knife from the kitchen. This detail became crucial to the subsequent investigation. Upon arrival, police noted a knife was missing from its usual place in the drawer. A search of the premises led them to Coplen-Anderson's closet. There, they discovered the missing knife covered in blood. The defense presented a narrative centered on Coplen-Anderson's history of abuse. Her attorney argued that she suffered from multiple mental health conditions. These conditions were attributed to significant trauma experienced throughout her young life. Specifically, she was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and major depressive disorder. These diagnoses, the defense argued, played a significant role in her actions. The defense also highlighted the circumstances surrounding the pregnancy itself. Coplen-Anderson was only 15 years old when she became pregnant. The baby's father was 19. Under Nebraska law, this age disparity constitutes sexual assault. The defense further argued that no adults intervened to provide support or assistance to Coplen-Anderson during her pregnancy. This lack of intervention, they claimed, contributed to the tragic outcome. The question of societal responsibility looms large in this case. The initial charge against Coplen-Anderson was first-degree murder. This charge carries the most severe penalties under the law. However, a plea deal was reached in August 2024. Coplen-Anderson pleaded no contest to the lesser charge of second-degree murder. In exchange, the prosecution agreed to drop the first-degree murder charge. Additional charges of child abuse resulting in death and use of a deadly weapon were also dismissed. In Nebraska, second-degree murder carries a penalty of 20 years to life in prison. The plea agreement significantly altered the potential consequences for Coplen-Anderson. The legal strategy employed raises questions about the balance between justice and mitigating circumstances. Judge Travis O'Gorman presided over the sentencing hearing. He handed down a sentence of 35 to 60 years in prison. Coplen-Anderson received credit for over 500 days already served in custody. This means she will be eligible for release at the age of 51 at the earliest. The sentence reflects a complex consideration of the crime, the defendant's background, and the interests of justice. The long-term implications of this case extend far beyond the courtroom. The mental health aspect of this case cannot be overstated. Coplen-Anderson's diagnoses of PTSD and major depressive disorder are critical to understanding her actions. These conditions can significantly impair judgment and impulse control. The impact of trauma on a developing brain is well documented. The defense's argument that her mental state contributed to the crime raises complex ethical and legal questions. Should mental illness mitigate culpability, in cases of neonaticide? The intersection of mental health and criminal justice is a challenging area. This case highlights the need for greater understanding and resources for individuals struggling with mental illness. It also raises questions about the availability of mental health services for pregnant teenagers. This case exposes potential failures within the social support systems designed to protect vulnerable individuals. Coplen-Anderson's concealed pregnancy suggests a lack of trust or access to resources. The fact that no adults intervened during her pregnancy is deeply troubling. Schools, healthcare providers, and social services all have a role to play in supporting pregnant teenagers. The absence of intervention in this case raises questions about the effectiveness of these systems. Are we doing enough to identify and assist young women in crisis? The stigma surrounding teenage pregnancy can also contribute to isolation and secrecy. This stigma can prevent young women from seeking the help they need. Addressing this stigma is crucial to preventing future tragedies. The age disparity between Coplen-Anderson and the baby's father is a significant factor. The fact that he was 19 when she was 15 raises questions about power dynamics and consent. Under Nebraska law, this relationship constitutes sexual assault. While he was not directly charged in connection with the baby's death, his role in the pregnancy cannot be ignored. The legal and ethical implications of his actions warrant further scrutiny. The focus on Coplen-Anderson should not overshadow the responsibility of the older partner. The long-term impact on both individuals involved is likely to be profound. The ripple effects of this tragedy will continue to be felt for years to come. The need for accountability extends beyond the individual who committed the act of violence. This case presents a number of ethical dilemmas for legal professionals, social workers, and mental health advocates. How do we balance the need for justice with the recognition of mitigating circumstances? What is the appropriate level of punishment for a teenager who commits such a heinous crime? How do we ensure that vulnerable individuals receive the support they need to prevent future tragedies? These are not easy questions, and there are no simple answers. The Coplen-Anderson case forces us to confront these difficult issues head-on. The ethical considerations extend to the media coverage of the case as well. How do we report on such a sensitive topic without sensationalizing the details or further traumatizing those involved? The responsibility to report accurately and ethically is paramount. From a legal perspective, the plea deal in this case raises several questions. Why did the prosecution agree to drop the first-degree murder charge? What factors influenced their decision-making process? The defense's strategy of highlighting Coplen-Anderson's mental health issues and history of abuse was clearly effective. This raises questions about the role of mitigating circumstances in criminal sentencing. How much weight should be given to these factors? The legal analysis must also consider the potential for appellate review. Will Coplen-Anderson appeal her sentence? What legal arguments might she raise? The legal proceedings in this case are likely far from over. The Coplen-Anderson case serves as a valuable case study for students and professionals in various fields. Law students can analyze the legal strategies employed by both the prosecution and the defense. Social work students can examine the failures of the social support systems. Mental health professionals can study the impact of trauma on adolescent development. True crime enthusiasts can explore the psychological factors that may have contributed to the crime. The lessons learned from this case can inform future practice and policy. The case study also highlights the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration. Legal professionals, social workers, and mental health advocates must work together to address the complex issues raised by this case. A siloed approach is unlikely to be effective. The Coplen-Anderson case is a reflection of broader societal issues. It speaks to the challenges faced by vulnerable teenagers, the failures of our social support systems, and the stigma surrounding mental illness and teenage pregnancy. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our society. The case also raises questions about the role of poverty, inequality, and lack of access to resources. These factors can all contribute to the circumstances that lead to such tragedies. Addressing these underlying issues is essential to preventing future occurrences. The social commentary must also acknowledge the impact of this case on the community. The residents of Sheridan County have been deeply affected by this tragedy. The healing process will be long and difficult. In the wake of such a senseless act of violence, it is natural to search for meaning. How can we make sense of this tragedy? What can we learn from it? How can we prevent similar events from happening in the future? There are no easy answers to these questions, but by engaging in thoughtful analysis, ethical debate, and social commentary, we can begin to understand the complex factors that contributed to this tragedy. We can also work to create a more just and compassionate society. The search for meaning must also involve remembering the victim. The newborn son of Chloe Coplen-Anderson deserves to be remembered as more than just a statistic. His life, however brief, had value. The Coplen-Anderson case is a stark reminder of the darkness that can exist within our society. It is a call to action to address the systemic failures that contribute to such tragedies. It is a challenge to create a world where all individuals, especially vulnerable teenagers, receive the support and care they need. Moving forward, we must prioritize prevention. We must invest in programs that support pregnant teenagers, address mental health issues, and combat the stigma surrounding these issues. We must also hold individuals accountable for their actions. The Coplen-Anderson case is a tragedy that will continue to haunt Sheridan County for years to come. But by learning from this case, we can work to create a brighter future for all. The path forward requires courage, compassion, and a commitment to justice.